Season long points, you must be very disappointed.
Season, that shows you how much statistical analysis you have. Season low for points, season high for points per drive.
Well, there you go.
It's whatever matters to you, brother.
You should have had more drives.
Yeah, we had 8.
How, I feel that we ask you some version of this every week, but to score 36 points in a rivalry game,
Yeah.
there was obviously a lot of defense being played on both sides, to be very fair. Was it, people look at the numbers and say it wasn't 50, 60, whatever.
Right.
Was it the most satisfying of the year, or right up there?
I don't know about most satisfied. I mean, the goal is to win every game every week, right? Try to go 1-0, and so how the game plays out is always interesting to me because, games, you have plans going into games, and they have plans, and so you got to adjust accordingly through the course of the game. And so that game played out like it played out. It was pretty evident from the beginning that we were pushing them around up front. I mean, we were getting 8 to 10 yards a carry, and their safeties, which typically play pretty aggressive, were really hanging back. And so the structure of their defense, I don't think they thought we would be patient and run the ball. But when you're getting 8 to 10 a clip, it's not that we didn't throw it. We threw it, 36 times or whatever. But I mean, there was probably 5 or 6 plays out there that could have got us, like, we missed a couple deep balls and stuff like that, which we've been hitting. So, but I do give credit to those guys. I give credit to their defense. I think their defense is very talented. Their D-line is very talented. But I just felt the flow of the game tilting to us up front and our running backs. And so, it was just what we did to win the game.
We asked Mario about this on Saturday, but I guess how nice of a moment was it that not only was Mark Fletcher able to play,
Yeah.
he's able to get the first one.
Yeah, that was big. I mean, we all know what he's going through. If you've ever lost a parent, which I'm sure there's people in here that have. I lost my mom 3 years ago, so I mean, I know exactly what he's going through. And so it's not easy, and it doesn't get any easier, to be quite honest, So time goes on, but it still hits you, and it is what it is. And for him to play on Saturday and to play like he played, wow, pretty special.
What were some of your conversations with him after he found out, just leading into game day? Well, what were you able to do to try to...
What did I tell him?
Anything, yeah.
I mean, look, I basically just told him I don't have the words. I love him and I don't have the words, and we're here for you. I mean, what else? I don't know what else you tell a kid. It's words cheapen those moments because nobody has the words. It's just part of life, and part of life that people don't equip you for, and so it's rough.
In that situation, is it his decision to play? Like, how do you handle that as a coaching staff?
I didn't really talk about. I mean, that was conversations with him and coach, I think, but I don't think there was ever a question in Mark's mind that what was going to happen. I think he knew that that's what his dad would have wanted, and so,
Can you have a play like Texas in your back pocket?
Yeah.
How nice, I mean, I guess, what's the trick to knowing exactly when to pull it at the right time?
Where it is on the field is big, and where it is on the hash. And so it just happened to be in that specific situation that if it was on the right hash, I would have called something else, but it was on the left hash, and so we were running it on purpose because, Elijah can throw the football and he's left-handed. So that's very unusual. Most people run that play and they run it to the right. So with him being left-handed, I needed it to be on the left hash into a certain situation and close to the goal line. So it just happened to be a perfect situation.
Is he going to be holding you up now for a pass?
Probably. It's probably the worst thing that could have happened with both of them.
Shannon, you scored pretty easily on the first drive.
Yeah.
The second drive, they came out, they went sack
Yeah.
on you, which I don't believe anybody's come close to doing so far this year. What went through your head at that moment? And it seemed like you switched on
Well, what happened was this. So the first drive, obviously, we had a lot of success, scored. The second drive, on the second play, we checked. Cam checked to a different play, and the running back had to move over because of the check. and he missed the ID point. And so, you know, they brought some pressure, and we weren't communicated properly from up front to running back because Mark had to move. It's just one of those things that happened. So the sack really was more on communication than like somebody getting beat. And then when we were in a third down, we knew what they were going to do on third down. They were going to mug everybody up, and like when you get in a third and long versus them, they have a certain call they make that mugs everybody up, makes you get the ball out quick. And we had a play that we were going to try to run in that situation, and they defended it well. I mean, they hugged the back, and they defended it well, and we took a sack. And so it was more so on second down communication, and on third down, we were going to try something that was a little risky, and it didn't work out. And so the third down call was more on me and scheme. You know, it could have been huge, or it's just one of those things you gamble with, right? We knew what they were going to do. And then the next two possessions were backed up. So we get the ball on the next possession, we're backed up inside of our 10, and the first play we hit for 12. And so, you know, when you hit it for 12, you keep, you know, you try to capitalize on that momentum. And we kind of ran it all the way down the field. We mixed it in some passes, but we kind of ran it 95 yards. And then the next possession, we were backed up again. And so we started off and we ran it and hit a few. But it was more so of like where we got the ball on those next two possessions and trying to play smart football. I mean, look, it's part of my mindset going in that game was if we got the ball backed up, I was going to be a little bit more conservative because their offense isn't necessarily just scoring a lot of points, so I didn't want to give them anything easy. And we were running the ball really well, and so when I got in those situations backed up, I wanted to kind of get it out a little bit.
Just talking about the running game, over the last 2 weeks, Damien Martinez looks at taking strides in the right direction.
Yes.
What have you seen from him progression-wise?
Everything you see, to be honest. I mean, he's running with a lot of confidence, and, you know, he's hard to tackle. He's a big guy, he's hard to tackle. He's seeing things way better. Again, kind of what we talked about with Sam a week ago. A lot of times when new guys come in, it takes them a little bit, right? And so I think you see right now with the way he's playing is what we expect from him, right?
Shannon, I saw a stat that you guys have only gone 3 and out about 3% of drives, which is the lowest among any team in about 20 years. Besides the obvious, like you don't go 3 and out, what positives did longer drives, what benefits does that bring to the offense and to the whole team?
I mean, I think that, you know, I've never really obsessed about time of possession. I really haven't, because I do think that at times that's kind of a useless stat, because if you're scoring quick, you're not going to be out there, and that still counts as a touchdown, right? But I do think that there's benefits of having the defense off the field and kind of wearing down their defense a little bit, you know, if we can get them running sideline to sideline and tackle us. So it's more about first downs, in my opinion, like getting first downs. You know, I don't really obsess about explosive plays. Those just kind of tend to happen if you're making routine plays with great effort. But I do think that stat is very much like our mindset as an offense is to get first downs, you know, to put the ball in play and get first downs. And a lot of it has to do with our third down percentage is good. And we talked about that last week. I mean, some of that's, you know, guys making plays, some of it's Cam scrambling around, getting the first down. It all kind of works together and understanding that third down is the last down and keep it going. And we're pretty aggressive on fourth down too, which keeps the chains going. So I think all that kind of builds on each other.
How do you feel like the receivers did last week with creating separation?
I thought we could have done better, to be quite honest with you. I think they're decent cover-wise. We had some opportunities down the field that we missed, and we got to be able to make those plays when you're covered too. You know, and that's just part of it. And some of it's the ball placement. I mean, we got to give them a chance. A couple of them we didn't. But you know, I mean, when people are playing tight coverage on you, you know, we you know, the thing about tight coverage is, you know, vertical slants and stuff like that, you know, and we call it 3 or 4 slant routes, you know, which you make the next guy miss. That's a big one. So, but yeah, I do see what you see. You know, I think that, like, you know, I don't know about the separation part as much as, hey man, like, people call it a 50-50 ball. I'm not so sure it's a 50-50 ball. It might be, percentages might be a little bit more tilted than that, but but we need to make plays with people on us, and we do. You know, we didn't last week, but we will.
Georgia Tech was run heavy against Duke, and it worked for them.
Yeah.
SMU was super run heavy against Duke, and it went for them. Is there something about that defense that just makes you think that's got to be? I know you always want the balance,
Yeah.
but you're going to do what works too.
Right.
Is this a defense that says you have to run it down the streets?
I don't think so. I think that, you know, we'll see how the game plays out, but ultimately, you know, they're like, you look at them defensively, statistically, they're top in the nation in a lot of categories. They're really good on third down. They're really good in tackles for loss. They're really good in sacks. And so the blitz packages they have and the way they move people around is kind of unique. But I do think we're good at protecting, and we're good at getting the ball out quick. And obviously we want to do both very well. And I'm not going to ever go into a game, and I didn't in this game. And if you look at the way the numbers laid down, I mean, we still threw it 36 times in a game that at the end we kind of wasn't even trying to throw it, right? And so, but through the course of the second and third quarter, you know, it was pretty balanced and everything kind of laid out. But the way those games go too, that are kind of getting out of hand at the end, I mean, you're going to run it at the end a little bit more.
Ask Mario about this too, but what is the secret sauce of Alex Singleton?
I don't know. That's a good question. He's unique and he's awesome at his job. He sees the game in a different way, honestly, up front than anybody I've been around. And just the way that, honestly, the way he gets those five guys to be orchestrated together and to be targeted together and to strain their mentality, it's just, it all kind of goes together. And he just does an unbelievable job with that group. And he really does. I mean, he's elite at what he does. He's by far the best I've been around. But I couldn't answer that honestly. You know, I don't know. I know that he's got an unbelievable mind for how blocking schemes work against certain fronts and movements and stuff like that. And so it's a unique deal.
I think the last 2 weeks Cam has not turned the ball over
Yeah.
at all. Coming out of the bye, do you think there's been an effort with that from him, or that's just the way it's kind of worked out?
No, I think there's been an effort. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, there's situations that you need to be conservative, right? And so I'm never going to take that part of his game away. Never. Like, that's who he is. I want him to be who he is, right? But all of us can kind of cut the edges off at times, right? Of the stuff that's kind of, you know, that could hold you back. And so that's my job as a coach, is to help him get better at his craft. And so, you know, I do stress to him that, hey, there are specific times where, you know, throwing the ball away and playing 2nd and 10 is not the worst thing in the world. And I think you saw that Saturday. There was 3 or 4 times where, and honestly, there was probably 3 of those times where they got somebody loose, where we had a guy wide open down the field. Some of that stuff don't get factored into some of the things we were talking about earlier. And he extended the play, but when the guy got close enough to him, he threw it away, which is what I really want to see. Like, I like him extending plays, but I do think that there is a time that, hey, that guy gets so close to you, let's live the play the next play, right? And so he's done an unbelievable job at that the last 2 games. You know, he's really done a good job of when that guy gets really close to him, he'll throw it away and we'll be 2nd and 10, not 2nd and 19, right?
We'll do a few more.
Manny Diaz has had success with blitz packages everywhere he's
Yeah.
been. What is it that he does that makes it unique and successful?
I mean, they're all over the place. You know, they come from all over, and I think that he does a decent job of breaking down your protections and trying to get you to do something you don't want to do, and bringing it from other angles and all the, you know, stuff that those blitz packages do. And so, you know, a lot of it has to do with, you know, in those certain situations too, certain teams, you know what they're going to do. At this point in the year, you kind of have everybody's are who they are, right? And so, but they do a good job of breaking you down. They bring pressure and they cover you well. Really, they do a decent job of covering you. And so their third down defense is probably the best one we've seen this year, to be quite honest with you.
Kind of an oddball one, but do you have a preference, and you can't control it, but do you have a preference about noon games versus 7, 8, midnight in California?
Well, the one in California I have a preference. I'd rather not play at midnight, you know? And so, but I'm torn, really. I love night games. I mean, that atmosphere was awesome, was elite. As a coach that's done it for 20 plus years, noon games are nice because I'm home with my family at 5. And so, you know, you kind of go back and forth with that as a coach. You like, noon games are really nice because you're done and you can enjoy the rest of the day that we don't get a lot, right? And so my daughter turned 10 yesterday, so I'll be able to like have a normal family like cake and hang out, you know, at the end of the game. But those night atmospheres are, I mean, they're unbelievable. I mean, look, you can't, those are unbelievable.
Can we get away from 8 to Saturday?
No, we went to Whip and Dip yesterday. So when I got done work yesterday, she wanted to go to Whip and Dip. So we went to Whip and Dip, got ice cream, and obviously that's a, you know, ice cream at Whip and Dip is pretty special, right?
Yeah, do you sponsorship then?
Yeah. It's a good place.
As an extension of what I asked you a minute ago, do you look back, you may not, I guess you might not want to answer this, but do you look back at tape from when he was here? I mean, obviously there's mountains of defensive tape
Yeah.
from that era.
I look back at a lot, you know, I played, when I was at West Virginia, he was at Texas. And so there's a little bit of background. And so, yeah, I do look back at games in the past, but people evolve, you know, I mean, I've evolved offensively and he's definitely evolved defensively. So, I mean, I do look back, but I don't obsess about those as much as this year. You know, the deals this year and the latest stuff is probably the stuff that matters the most. Because that's what they feel good about with this certain personnel group and they have now.